President Biden has issued sanctions on Russian banks and elites as punishment for the attack on Ukraine. Now, as the Russian military pushes to take over the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, Congress is weighing whether to take further action. Joining us now is Congresswoman Ann Wagner. She's a Republican from Missouri and is the vice-ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Vlad. Anne-Marie, it's great to be with you this morning on what are very troubled times that we need to discuss.
Indeed, Congresswoman. So what kinds of actions are Congress, what are you proposing, what are you considering in Congress in response to Vladimir Putin's aggression on its neighbor?
Well, first, I want to say, even looking at the footage that you all just presented, our hearts go out to the Ukrainian people who are fighting so hard to save their sovereign country and their freedom and are taking to the streets and taking up arms themselves. But the U.S. government and the Biden administration need to do more. And frankly, the sanctions should have been a deterrent factor. I felt we needed strong and crushing sanctions weeks ago, and certainly now, ones that go to the heart of the financial centers, to economic centers, and frankly, to energy, oil and gas. We all say that Russia is really nothing but a gas station with a big military, and I don't know why the administration has been slow rolling the sanctions that we had in Congress have certainly put forward and have suggested that they impose. It's good that we're going after some of their major banking institutions, and I serve on the Financial Services Committee too. And shutting down those banks and their assets and sanctioning them is good, but the SWIFT financial system is the one that moves the money from country to country, from bank to bank. SWIFT should have been sanctioned and shut down for the Russians some time ago. I also feel that the energy sector is something that we should be sanctioning and going after. This would, as we watch the price of crude just soar, as we watch Putin make more money off selling barrels of crude and oil and gas to Europe. And frankly, I was flabbergasted at a hearing yesterday, a briefing, where I found out that the United States of America, Vlad and Anne-Marie, is taking in over 595,000 barrels a day of crude oil from Russia. What we need is American energy independence, and that was shut off over a year ago. And we started in 2021 taking these hundreds of thousands of barrels a day from Russia. So we've got to go to the heart of sanctioning their oil and gas and energy.
As you point out, Congresswoman, that is an important detail. And I suspect that this action by Russia will have not just the United States, but also our European allies reconsidering their energy needs and where they get their energy. I suspect you will see Europe and perhaps the U.S. Trying to become more energy independent so that those countries are not relying on Russia. But where you pointed out, you mentioned the sanctions on SWIFT. I mean, as you know, President Biden cannot unilaterally impose that sanction on President Putin. You do need our partners. And so far, some of those partners, Germany and Italy, for example, have been unwilling to do as you recommend. But that does remain an option on the table should the action intensify.
Well, and we should have been working towards that goal of bringing our European allies along with us in shutting down the SWIFT system to the Russians some time ago. As I said, you don't start sanctions after they've already nearly taken Kiev. You need to have started them weeks and weeks ago. And the UK is completely on board. Many of our European allies are on board. And I believe that the others will get there. And it is our duty, and President Biden and this administration's duty, to move the Europeans along in getting the SWIFT system shut down. But I have to stress again that energy independence in America is so key. We should be the ones that should be selling LNG to Western Europe, to Ukraine. It's much cleaner than the Russians' LNG, and energy independence is key. We can't have an administration and a president who are shutting down things like the Keystone Pipeline, stopping any kind of drilling on public lands that was renewed just a couple weeks ago, ending fracking. These are important things for us to have our own energy independence, so that is reflected in the price of the pump and in our home heating costs and prices. It also has inflationary measures, but it will also allow us to provide that energy to our friends in Western Europe and beyond. So I hope that the administration will review this and return America to its energy independence, and that we can bring our allies in Europe along with more very tough sanctions that will really isolate Putin. As I said, energy, the financial institutions, this is how I think you get a stranglehold. I'd also say I think that Russia needs to be stripped of their seat at the UN Security Council. And eventually, I believe, Vlad, we're going to see a time when Vladimir Putin is probably put forward for war crimes in The Hague. I mean, this is an unprovoked, unwarranted invasion.
Let me ask
Yes.
you, to your point about sanctions, a lot of observers have said that Vladimir Putin probably already factored in that there was going to be sanctions. And sanctions take a long time to have an impact. Is it time maybe for Congress to pursue other options, maybe more than just humanitarian aid or defensive weapons, maybe offensive weapons, maybe another sort of support now to make a difference?
Well, as I said, if had these sanctions been imposed weeks and weeks and weeks ago, as I had put forward and as we'd asked for, I think we'd be at a different place with Vladimir Putin right now. So it's a shame that the administration didn't act until after they were crossing the border, and now are about two miles away from the state capital.
So perhaps it's a little late for sanctions. Maybe there's something else.
Well, I'll tell you, if we go after his energy and sanction that, if we restore our own energy independence, then I think that will have a chilling effect on Putin. And yes, there is more lethal aid that had been slow rolled again in providing to Ukraine that we must do. Obviously, we are defending and taking our NATO allies vis-a-vis Article 5 in places like Poland and Germany and Romania and all around. We are prepared to protect them and defend them. We don't want American boots on the ground in the Ukraine. That is not what our goal is. But you're right, Amory. We should be doing more in terms of sending not just humanitarian, but actual lethal arms to them, and also working with our NATO allies who can move and process that equipment as quickly as possible. We'll continue to look at diplomatic efforts, but I will say that I think that time has come and gone, and now all we can do is, I think, do whatever's possible to squeeze Putin. I think if you enact SWIFT and take them off that system, if we really do strangle him in terms of his oil and gas and sanctioning that, if America stops taking 595,000 barrels a day of crude from Russia, this just started in 2021, then maybe he will feel the pressure. Those are things that America can do right now, but we're only going to get there with energy independence.
All right, Congresswoman Ann Wagner, thank you very much.